Africa is heating up in an intense pressure cooker right now, as you guys may or may not known. We're going to cover some basics before we talk about why that pressure cooker is becoming so difficult right now for this region, and especially for Russia, China, and the U.S., and why we should all be invested. I know that this may be some random part of the country that you feel disassociated with, but you should have some basic concept. That's because President Bazoum was actually the first elected leader to succeed another Niger since independence in 1960. It should be noted this was a French colony. If you guys want to go look at prior maps for World War I, you can kind of see how the breakdown has been there. But if you look at comparison today, that map of influence has definitely changed between China and the United States and various other parts of the world. They're using this kind of like a proxy site, as that's what we're, I believe, seeing right here, and what many officials have said as they've speculated on this as well. Now, Niger is a part of the African region known as the Sahel, or the belt of land that stretches from the Atlantic Ocean to the Red Sea. I also want to add to this, guys, that you should understand that a lot of these lines that me and you are seeing on a map, the formalities and structures of these governments and entities, and I would say nationalities, are very much mixed or blurred lines, as we're going to talk about how this coup has come across, coming over this democratic state here, and has taken power because of a few different reasons. Now, you may be asking, why is the U.S. involved in this? A lot of this becomes a apparent issue because it is one of the few democratic states that's in the African continent there that is actually able to hold some kind of power or resiliency, as other coups and other things have been brought upon other territories, I'll say that, not countries, around the area that have been a known issue as far as instability in the region. When we're talking about people that we were going against in the Middle East right after 9/11, right? You talk about Al-Qaeda, and these names are popping up that are becoming an issue once again in this region, and really it seems to be anywhere where they are destabilized. This could be in Afghanistan, Pakistan, could be in Africa, could be in southern Philippines. These types of entities are in pockets in small worlds that we as Americans don't really understand. There's not that much allegiance or resources to really go against this. On top of that, there are U.S. military bases and coalitions that have been brought together, and as you guys may or may not have seen before, around 1,000 troops were retrograded from some of their places, such as embassies, earlier this week, and that has been discussed as this has not been deemed a coup necessarily by the U.S. government, but I think they're trying to reduce tensions as much as possible. However, it should be noted that one of the other reasons why the U.S. has vested interest is because uranium is one of the main components that they talk about in regards to how their economy thrives. There is not much influence when it comes to that. It's only about 7% of the global supply. And if you guys are liking this content I'm covering, please make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it does help push this news out to other people, as I know there are people hungry to hear about these current events and things that are happening in the geopolitical sphere. Still, it is some level of supply, as we are still looking at, nuclear powers coming in to this play. When we're talking about Russia and the U.S. fighting over 7%, that could be whether we're going to totally destroy the world or not. I mean, that could be debated, but I think we have enough to do that already. But this power is becoming a vacuum, and that's because the timeline at which the U.S., France, and other countries surrounding Niger, putting pressure on them, have not been able to succeed by putting back democratic. And this coup that's coming up here is saying that the whole reason why they are not wanting this guy in power is because of security and economic issues that have been in place in this region, as there's been instability. And there has been issues with the Wagner group. If you guys forget, there was a lot of issues with Putin and that, even in their own territory over in Russia and Ukraine during that battle. But it does look like there are people over in Niger actually representing the Russian flag here. And it brings a lot of questions as far as what their involvement is. The U.S. departments have not actually confirmed if there is backing for this coup to be from the Russian Wagner group that we would think this to be here, and they would have probably incentive to say it was, but obviously I think they're also still trying to reduce it until they have a confirmatory that this would be the case. However, the U.S.-backed and French-backed president that was taken out of power by this coup has actually said, before any of this happened, that there was a lot of disinformation that was going on, and it was kind of giving the warning to everybody else. But again, the U.S. has not said that this is fact or true to this day. And obviously, I'm going to tell you, if you have not looked at a map, the pressure is coming from the western side of Europe as they're having people come from Africa up into their waters, as people died only about a month ago as 700 passengers were on that boat. And that continues to put pressures on Italy, Spain, and other countries that are in the Mediterranean. On top of that, you're seeing pressures from the east side of this as it's being pushed from Ukraine. You're seeing, if this is the case, from the south and from the east, that Russia could possibly, if this is real, that Wagner Group is pushing up and trying to push influence as much as possible. So here we see Niger coup, USC's window of opportunity to end crisis. Now, this window that we're talking about is very short, but they say, well, Washington believes the crisis can be resolved. It has been suspended millions of dollars in aid until President Mohamed Bazoum is reinstated. That was the original Democratic president that they had there. And it says that the African countries are going to meet to discuss on Thursday, the coup having warned that junta of military action. And they say that they had issued this 2300 or 11 o'clock GMT Sunday deadline of Niger's junta leaders to stand down and restore the elected president. America's top diplomat, Secretary of State Blinken, told BBC News ECOWAS had Washington's full backing for its approach to the crisis in Niger. It is very important that the constitutional order be restored, and right now, I think ECOWAS is playing a very important role in moving the country back in that direction, Mr. Blinken said. And again, the following countries around this area, including Nigeria, they had the Senate discuss the situation in Niger after President Bola Tinubu wrote to it about the ECOWAS resolutions imposing sanctions and the possible use of military force. Local media report that there was strong opposition to military intervention, especially from senators representing states near the long border for the two countries sharing. President Tinubu has been especially vocal in demanding that the Niger military leave power and has threatened to use force if they do not, but he needs approval from the National Assembly for any foreign military intervention. So I will again show the map of where you see Russia, China, US, all these influences coming in, and we understand that China has been inputting a lot of bad, practices against these countries that are there, not really giving them an out by giving them these horrendous deals as far as money loans and things like that, to where they'd be forever indebted and not really being able to pay it back. A country like this, I think Russia understands if they would be able to get in there, get these resources and get out, if possible, they would become a winner, because they cannot support or uphold this much power or influence in this region, especially against US and China as they're competing as well, and probably want the share of that, but also because they have this full-fledged thing going over on Ukraine, where they're not going to be able to sustain that as well as far as this goes. You have to understand, if you're looking to take over power from any kind of country or even lack of country or nationality here, let's be honest here, that you would need support from the local population. You would need growth to make sure that they are able to produce something, to have some kind of income coming in and thrive on that. If you look at this, Niger is one of the poorest countries out there. So this seems like a low-hanging fruit ability to grab for something as there's instability in the region, whether that be caused by the Russian Wagner group, or whether that be caused by the Chinese or caused by some other entities. No one's really talking about that, other than they said instability based on security and economic stuff. So I feel like there's some foul play here, but I'd like you guys, let me know down in the comments below. What do you guys think about the situation? Do you think that this is a proxy thing going on, as we've seen other places as well? If you like what I cover here, let me know down in the comments below. Hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.